as someone who voted for the president, campaigned for the president a lot, I'm not attacking the president, but I think even people who are fully on board with, the bulk of the MAGA agenda are like, this is too much, actually.
Yes.
I'm saying that with love, and I hope that they're listening, because I think this threatens to blow up the whole thing. The whole thing that this tape shows he didn't kill himself is like a joke, but worse than that, it's a joke that we all get. Like, they're not fooling anybody. So I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
That is Tucker Carlson saying the Epstein files cover-up threatens to, quote, blow up the whole MAGA thing. And that was just the beginning of a MAGA explosion over how the Trump administration handled the Epstein files. But I'm here to tell you, it's not just NATO that is now calling Trump daddy. All of MAGA media universe needs to start calling him daddy because he told them to zip it. Hey everybody, Dave Briggs here with founding editor Colby Hall. And Colby, it is amazing the turn of events that came about in just over a week. All of the MAGAverse, with maybe save for Ben Shapiro because of the Israel tie, was inflamed over the Epstein issue.
It's the first time that we've seen MAGA's base basically turn against Trump. I mean, Trump has had this like genius ability to read the room and give his followers what they want. And, he's built his entire sort of following on a lot of conspiracy theories going back to Barack Obama's birth certificate, to Russia hoax, and, the 2020 rigged election. And he created this Frankenstein monster where people don't believe what the government is saying. And now that he's in government and Elon Musk said Trump is in the Epstein files and now the Epstein files go away. Well, the problem with the conspiracy theorists is you can't say, no, they don't exist because they still believe that. And so, yeah, there was an enormous uproar, and MAGA, a lot of MAGA are now saying, you know what, Trump, you're in on it. And there's been a lot of, trying to clear that up and, and clean up an aisle Epstein files since that went down.
I was calling their bluff from the beginning, but let's start with Friday night, because this is when it was on clear display for the whole country. Charlie Kirk, one of the most influential in the MAGA universe, held his Turning Point event with around 7,000 passionate MAGA supporters. And every single speaker stood up there and roused the crowd about the Trump administration releasing the Epstein files, no more so than Charlie Kirk himself and Megyn Kelly.
Make some noise if you care about the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
Raise your hand if it matters a lot to you. Raise your hand. So every hand of 7,000 people.
Everybody cares. Pam Bondi. Here, she is the reason that things are unraveling around this story right now that virtually all of the Republican Party cares deeply about. It's also true that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel had questions about Epstein before they took office, before they went into the FBI. But once they joined the FBI, they said nothing.
Okay, so that was just one. But Laura Ingraham, Jack Prosebic said he wanted to go full January 6th. And it was clear at that moment that at least the online MAGA media universe was united in this issue.
Well, I mean, I think that's basically where this issue comes from. Like, if you think of the MAGA base and Trump support, most of them aren't extremely online, but Trump caters to the extremely online set, the Jack Posobiec's, the Laura Loomers, that those who basically just sort of, deal in these baseless conspiracies and memes. And, they start out as baseless, but then they bring on their life of their own. And if Talking Points USA is a student conservative organization that's literally designed not just to make money for Charlie Kirk, its founder, but also it's a rabble rousing. They are the rabble that gets roused by these things that aren't always based in truth. And so, yeah, it's the extreme, but then as we saw kind of over the weekend, it kind of bled into pro-Trump mainstream media as well. Fox News on Sunday even sort of kind of covered it. But there was one thing that happened Saturday night where Trump put out a Truth Social post I think based on what he saw online with Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk, that was just saying like, hey, people are talking too much about Epstein files. They're going after my Attorney General, Pam Bondi. He basically said, cut it out. Like you said, the daddy, like he was like driving the car. He's like, hey, you two in the back seat, like, stop it. Stop talking about Epstein files. And guess what? Like when you tell people to stop talking about this Jedi mind trick, it only brings more attention to it. It hangs a lantern on it, right? So the Jedi mind trick that there are no Epstein files here didn't seem to work out entirely. And, it almost brought more attention to it.
Yeah, and if I can name just a few of the people, Laura Ingraham was covering it. Jesse Waters covered it with Patrick Bet-David. You mentioned Sunday's Fox and Friends. But just a few of the hot takes on this. Glenn Beck said, I'm not stopping until Pam Bondi is gone, which Megyn Kelly has said 1,000 times. Steve Bannon added that they'll lose 40 seats in the midterms if they don't release the Epstein files. Nick Fuentes said, MAGA is dead. I'm just counting a few of the many passionate in that base, including Laura Loomer, who is arguably the national security advisor to the administration. She has demanded a special counsel on this issue. But I predict they will all fold in the next 24 to 48 hours. And it seemed like Charlie Kirk gave us a glimpse of what's coming. My bet is Donald Trump will appear on the Charlie Kirk show in the next few days to repay him for this silence on Monday's show. Here's what he told us.
I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
Okay, so now suddenly, MAGA, we have to trust the government, trust who we once called the deep state, and we're moving on. What in the world happened other than daddy, to your point, in the backseat smacking them around?
Well, I mean, again, like this is the cognitive dissonance, right, within the MAGA support, because they've, to a person, like the vast majority of MAGA really believe that there's this, whether it's QAnon at one extreme or just this idea that's been drilled in their head for the last 2 decades almost, that the Epstein sort of, whether it was a blackmail deal or it was like, but it was this cabal, it was this coordinated pedophilia sex ring, right? And it was originally came up under the Bush administration, and many of these people just were led to believe that all of the sort of perpetrators were Democratic politicians or sort of influential people in play, right, of powers. And so now that Trump has railed against the deep state and got them sort of spun them up into this thing that may or may not be true, when you're in a second administration and you're in power and you're saying, don't look here anymore, you look like the deep state. You look like the coverers up. And, Megyn Kelly said, this is not going well. And it really isn't going well. Charlie Kirk was the first sort of like lieutenant to fall on a sword and say, okay, I trust the government now. We're not talking about this anymore. Fox and Friends, this was a huge political story. They entirely ignored it. That's Trump's favorite show. Right, Fox and Friends Weekend on Sunday, they covered it sort of lightly, but there went 3 hours. This is the biggest political story of the year and so far, and they just decided that it wasn't worth mentioning. It wasn't until I think the special report at 6 o'clock where David Spunt did like a 90-second perfunctory report that didn't really say one way or the other on this. So yeah, it does appear that Fox News is faced with this sort of, decision. Do they continue to support Trump, or do they give the audience the more of what they want? And right now, they're in line with Trump, which says a lot.
All of the media dominoes will fall in the next 24 hours. You will not hear it on Fox. I'm guessing you will not see it on Megyn Kelly or Charlie Kirk or Steve Bannon or any of the other programs that are so high profile, not Patrick Bet-David. And now what have we learned and what happens next? To me, what have we learned? Number one, again, the truest thing Trump ever said is I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any voters. There is nothing he knows that he can't get away with his MAGA base. Nothing. And that is frightening because they were all outraged and he just told them to shut up. And now there is nothing he can't do in his mind that MAGA won't let him get away with. And number two that we've learned, Colby, I want to get your take on this, is Donald Trump never fires anyone for incompetence. Ask Pete Hegseth. He fires people for disloyalty. Right. And so anyone in that administration, what they've learned is I can be incompetent, provided I am loyal. And they all in this group, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, and everyone else, extraordinarily, I would say frighteningly loyal.
Servile, right? Fealty, right? And I think you're right. I think, will the animus towards the Trump administration and Trump, it's interesting, like it's mostly the anger within the MAGA base is directed towards Pam Bondi. And he's got her back. I think she's safe. I think apparently the reports are that he was very angry that Bongino sort of threw a hissy fit and left DC and was so angry of the way that this was handled, mostly because it makes him out to be a clown, because he was the guy that made a ton of money spewing this sort of conspiracy theories. And now that he's actually found out the details, he's telling people like, yeah, there's no there there. Well, then are you lying to us now or were you lying to us then? And that's sort of, it's like Hakeem Jeffries said that during his press briefing as a minority leader of the House Democrats. And it's stunning to me that, in this instance, Hakeem Jeffries and Megyn Kelly are basically making the same point. Were you lying to us then or are you lying to us now? But I think you're right. I don't see anyone getting fired. The irony is that for a guy who got famous on the "you're fired" line, he hates to fire people. He is conflict averse. And, maybe Bongino could be shown the door because he threw a little party. But I still think, honestly, I think the MAGA base will eventually come around to supporting Trump and they will pivot because if anything, they believe what this dude says. There's a hardcore cult vibe and the walls have been closing in on Trump forever. I don't, it's hard to imagine. This guy's Rasputin politically. You just can't kill him.
No question. And as we wrap this up, the two questions moving forward, no one will be fired here. If you look at the betting markets, which has always been spot on here, for whatever reason, Kalshi has questioned who leaves the administration first. And overwhelmingly, it is Dan Bongino. I think they're right. I think he walks more because he realizes this isn't as fun as I thought. Spewing controversy and making a lot of money on a podcast is a lot more fun, a lot more profitable. Right. And he will say, I love Trump and the administration. He will make up and go make money. That's my prediction. But lastly, I'm curious your thoughts on Ro Khanna, who is usually pretty sensible. I would say one of the more moderate Democrats, only because he's in Silicon Valley, has to deal with a lot of billionaires. He had a passion speech that we'll listen to a clip of about why we need to release the Epstein files.
This is a question of trust. We need to release the Epstein files so we can restore government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And every member of Congress tomorrow should be forced to vote on this.
So that's Ro Khanna on the House floor. It will be interesting to get all the Republicans on record not wanting to release the Epstein files, and at least so the question pervades in Congress, why? Why not? What will we hear there in your thoughts before we wrap this?
I honestly, I think the Democrats have been in a desert of loserdom. Like they've had nothing to attack. Yeah. They've had nothing to win. Like any news that Democrats have gotten of late have been about Biden's cognitive decline and how they basically gave the White House back to the Trump administration. So here we have a story that for the first time, Republicans, MAGA, are against, Trump, and they're frustrated. So they're pouncing. Like this, usually Republicans pounce, the Democrats. And I don't think that they've ever really cared that much about the Epstein files. In fact, most of them are like, I don't really know. And maybe it makes Bill Clinton look bad and we're just going to stay away. Now they are doing, politics makes for strange bedfellows. So that Ro Khanna and, other Democratic leaders, Hakeem Jeffries, are now in league with Steve Bannon and Jack Posobiec over this issue. It's just insane. And, here's the thing is that what's interesting to me about the story now is not necessarily about the Epstein files, because I don't know anything about that. But the political machinations that are that are flowing through them, and how this could sort of really kill Trump's power. That's why the Democrats are. I don't think they really care about Epstein files and all the victims. They just want to bring Trump down because Trump's had a bunch of wins of late, and they need to take him down a peg or two.
To me, this is just one more reminder of how lost the Democrats are, how without an issue they are, how without a leader they are. It's a really pathetic attempt that will go absolutely nowhere. And the two things that animate them at this moment are Alligator Alcatraz trying to show how inhumane it is and release the Epstein files. My God, the Democrats are without an issue. And that's why Barack Obama scolded them over the weekend and said, we got to get tough and learn how to fight. It has been a sad effort from Team Blue, Team Donkey over there. Curious how our readers think this story will end. Will anything happen? My guess is nope, not a threat.
Probably right.